Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe, if you dare.
This is what I want to know too. How did it all begin? Is God real? What is the truth? Hey everybody, welcome to AskReddit. People ask Reddit. Serious, if you could learn the honest truth behind any rumor or mystery from the course of human history, what secret would you like to unravel?
Number 1.
Commenter. Extraterrestrial intelligence. Do they exist? Have they ever been here? How close is the nearest planet with intelligent life? Is faster than light travel possible through the distortion of space or some other means? Person B. Intelligent life has to exist out there somewhere. Space is just so big, we can't be the only planet to have intelligent life. We just can't be. I can't believe it. The idea that we are totally alone in the infinite space of, well, space, just makes me feel so insignificant and lonely. Person C. Well, the chance of being the only one in the universe is basically non-existent. In the universe are a loot of asteroids which carry life components, and there are also pretty many habitable planets out there.
Number 2.
Commenter. The details of the Bronze Age collapse. We only know very generally what happened, read 1177 by Eric Klein for details, but precious little specifics, ESP who did what and why. Droughts, famines, revolts, piracy, population movement, trade collapse etc. are all involved. Mycenae, Minoans, Troy, Hittites, Ugarites etc. Every city from Greece to the Levant was burned down and every civ collapsed. Egypt, Assyria and Babylonia didn't collapse but were severely weakened for centuries. Person B. WTF really caused the Bronze Age collapse? An unknown event or series of events led to the destabilization and downfall of nearly all the major civilizations of the Mediterranean. At least 4 major empires that had each stood for centuries fell within about 50 years. There is almost nothing in the written record and frustratingly scarce archaeological evidence about the cause of this collapse. There's theories, most involving invading peoples driven by drought or climate change or war, but we don't really know any details. One day there's a thriving, interconnected metropolitan civilization building monuments and discovering math and science, and the next there's ruined cities, starving populations and almost no written records for a century afterward. Person C. Who were the Sea people? During the Bronze Age collapse there were many civilizations who were attacked by what they called some variation of sea people who invaded from the sea, what a surprise, and proceeded to pillage and burn cities they encountered before going back into the sea with their plunder. Thing is, no civilization had a big boost in development which would result from these systemic raids, so, who were them? Where did they come from? Where did they go?
Number 3.
Commenter. The lost city of Atlantis. Since I was 5 I've wondered if there was any truth behind it. Person B. It did exist, but not how most people think. I watched a really good documentary on it many years ago, and a key detail they mention about it comes down to an incorrect translation. I think it was Plato who was the first to have written down anything about it, and said Atlantis was the size of Libya and Asia. However, that should have been recorded as Atlantis was located between Libya and Asia. So if that mistranslation is true, now you're not looking for a giant continent. You're actually looking for an island in the Mediterranean, specifically islands between Libya and Asia, the area that's now Turkey. And there was a story, with evidence, of an island that had some advanced architecture and city planning that was destroyed in a cataclysm of some kind, a volcano eruption I think. That is similar to how Atlantis was supposedly destroyed. Person C. Read some Graham Hancock. He has some great theories on what happened. He has gotten a lot of flack because he's not a scientist, but I think they just proved that his theory that there was a meteor struck that melted the ice caps throughout Canada which caused a large increase in the ocean. This may have flooded Atlantis and other advanced civilizations. It's interesting stuff.
Number 4.
Commenter. How the F were the pyramids built? I want to see it. Person B. Probably lots and lots of slaves. Person C. I can't wrap my head around 70-ton stones above the king's chamber in the pyramids of Giza. How was that possible? Person D. Pretty sure the scientific consensus is they drag the blocks up ramps, which makes a hell of a lot more sense than aliens. Person E. Ramps and wooden cranes. Modern people don't give ancient humans enough credit. Enough muscle and some mechanical advantage from cranes and you can move a lot of weight without a huge problem.
Number 5.
Commenter. Dyatlov Pass incident. The 6 Russian hikers who were found dead on a mountain. Basically 6 Russian hikers mysteriously died. Some were found with radiation and had their tongue ripped out. No one knows what happened to them as their bodies were away from their tent. Some were barefoot and naked in freezing weather. Their tent had evidence of a disturbance that made the hikers rip the tent from the inside to escape from a source. It was believed to be the military, as there was a military item found near their camp. Their bodies were found with numerous injuries, but the injuries were found to be too strong for humans to make. It's one of the greatest unsolved mysteries. Person B. Read a few books on the Dyatlov Pass incident. The most likely scenario seems to be a Kármán vortex street. They are super rare, but the conditions in the Dyatlov Pass are perfect for it. It would have created an infrasound that would have scared and disoriented the hikers enough to flee the tent. Or it could just be aliens. Person C. I personally believe the katabatic wind theory, where barbaric wind, freezing wind moving at hurricane force speeds, collapsed the tent, forcing them to cut it open from the inside. They then ran for the woods for cover. 3 died on the way there, 2 managed to start a fire but died before they could get heated up, resulting in burns, and the remaining 4 were able to build igloo-like forts in a nearby ditch, which unfortunately collapsed, killing the rest. Person D. Well, the difficult part is that they didn't all die the same way. The Kármán vortex street explains what got them out of the tent. After that, we know that there were at least 3, I don't remember exactly how many locations and how many were in each locations where bodies were found. A few died from hypothermia. A few appear to have fallen into a ravine, which would explain the rib and skull fractures that some had. 2 victims had their eyes missing and 1 had their tongue missing. Those 2 victims were, I believe, found in close proximity to each other. I also believe they were the only bodies in that particular area. Meaning a scavenger could have eaten their eyes and tongue while the other hikers' bodies were left alone because they weren't in the same area. I also am curious about how a Kármán vortex street would affect the animals. They would also experience the infrasound, which could alter their behavior patterns. As far as the rumors that they had red skin, I would say that it's caused by sunburn. There are also rumors that some of them had gray hair, which I don't have an explanation for if it's true. Person E. Paradoxical undressing is likely the cause of this. It's when you're so cold, you feel burning hot, your blood comes to the surface of your skin as a last-ditch effort to keep you warm, and you have the urge to strip since you feel like you're burning up. Person F. It couldn't be paradoxical undressing because most of the clothes were found in a tent. 2 people were found fully clothed but dead at the bottom of a ravine. Person G. What about the missing tongue and eyes though? Or the internal damage with no external signs of such? Or the signs of radiation? Person H. The missing tongue was natural scavengers, the internal injuries were caused by the snow collapsing on them, and the radiation was picked up naturally during their training. Note that it was only on their clothes. Person I. Basically, nobody really thought to just check for radiation. It happens that 2 of the people who died in the incident worked in a place that had some radiation. I believe it was a hydroelectric dam or maybe even a nuclear plant. But their clothes were radiated. 2 of the likely explanations that have gained traction in recent years are a fire inside the tent, which caused everyone to run out and panic, or perhaps cut their way out of the tent, and then as they would likely have been in various states of undress they succumbed to the elements. Another explanation from a recent geographic survey of the area is a sudden katabatic wind, which is essentially high-pressure air being suddenly forced down a slope by an oncoming front/weather system at hurricane speeds. They can pick up and carry debris, and potentially cause avalanches.
Number 6.
Commenter. Mayan Collapse. I believe the most probable theory is that they cut down the jungle for agricultural use, which made the soil loose, and then rainfall washed their fertile soil away. They couldn't feed the population anymore. Person B. I'd say that's pretty unlikely given they knew enough about soil composition and agriculture to essentially terraform barren jungle and turn it into fertile soil. Person C. Actually, we have a ton of really good explanations. The best theory I've heard was that the Mayan collapse was a mix of natural disaster, gradual environmental degradation, and a failure of the Mayan socio-political system. The Mayans pulled off a small miracle, transforming a region with poor soil and little water into a thriving society, but those factors left them vulnerable. Around the time southern Mayan society declined, geological records indicate a period of prolonged drought. This would have already strained the Mayan city-states, but worse yet, the lack of rain would have killed the foliage holding down the thin layer of topsoil in the area. When rains did come, they may have washed away this tiny layer of precious fertile soil, making it impossible to grow sufficient amounts of crops. From here, The southern Mayan city-states may have gone through something of a domino-like collapse. Refugees fleeing famine in one city-state would have migrated to another, which in turn would have collapsed under the strain of trying to feed the surge of new residents. The combination of drought, famine, and waves of people fleeing both could quickly have overwhelmed the delicate system the Maya set up in the Yucatan, and without a central authority to direct food supplies or control the migration of desperate refugees, there would have been little stopping this spiral once it was underway. As a side note, Mayan society didn't fully collapse, much less vanish entirely. The southern Mayan city-states never recovered, but the northern ones not only survived, they flourished. The culture of these northern Mayan city-states did change after their southern peers declined, but they remained active until they were taken over by the Spanish in the 17th century. Person D. A recent article in Science Daily points to high levels of mercury and algae rendering the water undrinkable. The mercury levels were from a pigment used on the exterior of their buildings. Person E. Millions of Maya people still exist and never disappeared. 40% of Guatemala is Maya. The third most spoken language in Mexico is Yucatec Maya, and other two Maya languages are present. Their cities were already abandoned because they could no longer sustain them. Constant warfare, urbanization, lack of water and resources meant they had to migrate to the northern Yucatan Peninsula, yet this didn't stop it and had to regress back to small jungle villages in 20 kingdoms or Kushkabel until the Spanish came and conquered them. Later European explorers romanticized these mysterious cities they found in the 1800s, and that's you get aliens did the pyramids. There is one we know jack shit about, Teotihuacan. It was already 1,000 years old before the Aztecs found the city, and they studied it as well. No one knows which civilization built it. Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.